Go ahead and grab those cutting boards, or any boards that you might have could work for these projects. We're going to go ahead and start with project number 1. Now this was one of my most favorite. This has a $3 ticket on it, but I got this at the Goodwill bins, so it wasn't very much. I'm going to go ahead and give this a good coat of chalk paint. Now I'm not going to be too picky about putting 2 coats on it because we're going to add some stuff to it, and the base coat really just needs to be black. I meant to leave this part without paint, but I forgot, so I just wiped some of it back. You'll see why here shortly. Now I'm grabbing this transfer. It's gilded from the last IOD release. Now if you don't have transfers, grab a stencil and just put a pattern on here. I'm using this one for the gold color because this is going to be sort of a cool looking theme, and I'll see if you can guess it coming up. I went ahead and just used the little plastic stick that came with this transfer, and I'm just rubbing softly to get this gold pattern off. Once I get that all off, I just want to make sure that I kind of pat it down and make sure it has really good contact with the paint. Now I left a gap at the bottom of this, and you're going to see why. I found this cute little clock and several others because one of our local thrift stores got a huge donation of clocks. This one was $2.55. It looks like books, and it has a little drawer. It's just an adorable clock. But I couldn't do anything with the back or take the face off like I generally do. So we're just going to take the battery out, and we're going to just leave it like this. I'm going to go ahead and give this a coat of that same black chalk paint, 2 coats actually, because this is not going to be covered with something else. So I want to make sure that it has a really good black base to it. Before I paint over the glass, and yes, I'm going to paint over the glass because I can't take it out, I'm going to make some of these molds. Now, if you don't have a mold like this, just use any mold that you have that you think would look really neat on here. Again, if you don't have molds, you can use little wood cutouts. You can use stencils for a pattern. So think outside the box if you don't have a mold to make these molds with. To make my molds, I'm using Sculpey air dry clay from Walmart. It is my favorite because it's also very white if you don't want to paint it. I was using the DOS clay, DAS, but it's hard to work with unless you really warm it up. And this is much softer, but it also works just as good as DOS. So it's easier on my hands, and it's the bright white if I don't want to paint it. So it's my favorite, plus it's cheaper. All right, I'm putting this crown here, and I'm going to use TITEBOND quick and thick glue. Now you can use several different kinds of glue for this for molds, but I like the TITEBOND glue for them. I'm just making sure I get it all over the mold, and I'm going to center it in the middle of that glass. I'm going to go ahead and finish this off with the rest of that black chalk paint, and the last coat, while it's still wet, I'm going to take a little stipple brush and just stipple all over the glass and the crown, just to give it a little bit of a different look so it's not streaky on the glass. I didn't get all of it filmed, but you're going to see that I've already placed the heart and the angel wings on the cutting board. And we definitely have more to do to those. All right, I am using TITEBOND and hot glue to put on the back of this clock, and I've already glued that little door that slid up and down. I glued it and made sure it dried before moving on to this step so that we didn't have any weird wobbly thing going on once this was glued to our board. I'm going to go ahead and flip that over and just make sure it's centered, and we're going to let that dry. It's always the details for me that I love with a project. Now, I'm not saying that that black and gold ain't killing it, but it's a little bit monochromatic for me. So we're getting out this carnival red, which is not a bluey, pinky cherry red. Has a little bit of a, I wouldn't say orange, but yeah, it's going to work perfect for this. We're going to give that heart a good coat of it. Actually, I think I do 2 because the black background gave us such a beautiful contrast. Then we're going to move down to the crown, and I thought we would do the inner rim of the crown red, and I do all the roses red, but I don't do them on camera, so you'll see that coming up. Again, I love these little details. I love the finishing touches on a project. This is what really gives it the artistic feel for me, even though this is just a cheap cutting board and a cheap clock with some molds on it. I love the way this ends up looking. Now I did start out with my Deco Gold marker, and the color just wasn't doing it for me. So I grabbed out some gold rub and buff, some DIY Debbie's Design Diary gold wax, and my all-time favorite Cosmic Shimmer Luna paste. Once I realized that I wanted to change, I'm adding that gold rub and buff just with a brush to get down in the details. I go ahead and add some of the gold wax even to the wings and add a little bit of that sparkle with the Luna paste. It brought these to life. I can't wait to hear what you all think about the wings and the heart. Of course, the whole project. I am going to go ahead and add a little bit of that wax and sparkle to the heart to give it some dimension. We are going to end up sealing this piece because we are going to need to, even though I have put some wax on here. It does work out fine. I use that gold DIY wax to do these are like books, so make the book pages look gilded. I don't end up doing a whole lot to these books just because there's so much going on and I didn't want to label them. I thought maybe if someone purchases, they might label them themselves. I don't know. It's just an idea. For the drawer, I went ahead and grabbed a Christmas gilded pack that I don't think I used this at all during Christmas. And I knew I wanted to use some of the music notes on the drawer. Now listen, this is Christmas music. I can't read music, so I am not going to know. But if you can read music and you see that this is Christmas music on a rock and roll looking type decor, just walk on by. I think the music notes look good and the drawer definitely needed something. We're going to add a coat of my favorite matte Rust-Oleum clear coat. I added some wax on the edges of the book just to kind of make it look gilding, and some wax all around the square of that crown. Let me know what you think of this one. Like I said, this is probably my favorite, but I added also a sawtooth hanger on the back so this could be hung on a wall. And I put a screw with a little red knob painted the same color on the drawer. Let me know what you think of this one. Oh my gosh, project number 2. I just want to do a bunch of these now. So I didn't show you, but I used this lion mold, and I forget what it's called, but it's the IOD new release. Now again, whatever mold you have, especially if you have something large, I didn't paint mine. I glued it on there and left it overnight because I was too tired after I got off work and just forgot to paint it. So I had some cracking. So what I'm going to do is grab some of the clay and some water and just fill in those cracks. It's fine, no big deal. Plus paint's gonna, do its thing with covering any minor little cracks. Now I'm gonna be using this new alchemy paint. It's a sort of like the chalk paints, but it's from Fusion. Love, love, love this stuff. It is similar to the regular Fusion paint, but it definitely dries very, very matte. I went ahead and sealed mine. Gorgeous, gorgeous. I got the small bottles just to try them out, and this original color here that I'm using is sort of a yellowy green, almost a mustard color, but with a hint of green. And I really thought this would be great for the base color because, wow, we are going to have a lot of fun with this one. So when you're looking at those Dollar Tree cutting boards, grab some because, oh my gosh, I do another project with one of these later on, and I'll show you that one. So I'm going to go ahead and give this that coat. Now you can see I'm moving on. I'm going to open all of these, and we're going to do like a bunch of layering on this. But this isn't the end, okay? This is going to be much grander than what I'm showing you right now. But what I end up doing is I let that dry. I think I only put one coat because you can still see through it in some of the white because I didn't need 2 coats. So I'm starting off with this next color, which is a corally color, and I'm sorry, I don't know the colors of these, but I did show it at the beginning, so if you need to pause and go back and look at the colors. I wanted to layer these colors of all these sort of warms and yellowy tones and corals, and one of them's almost a rust color. I think it's like a sienna. So that's what we do. So I put the sort of corally peachy color on there, and then I move on to the a little bit darker color. And I'm using the same brush. I'm not using new brushes. So this actually is the original brush, and it still had some of that yellow-green color on it. Once I get some of the corally peach color, then I move on to the next darker color, which is like a bright orangey color. I know I keep saying orangey peachy, but that's just what they are. And I just put them on there how I like them. You know, like I'm covering his whole face with this one, but I didn't cover the whole mane with the other one. I don't know. It was just kind of like wherever I thought I wanted the color to go, that's where I put it. No specific rhyme or reason, just however it looked good to me. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next sort of sienna burnt red orange color. And while I was doing this with this last darker color, I was thinking, okay, I think I want to shadow around his whole mane and everything. And then it hit me, maybe I'll do like a rainbow, not a rainbow, but a radiating like sun rays effect going all around. So I started with that, and then I turned my brush kind of to the side, and I thought, oh, well, I'm just going to use all the colors. And it's very subtle once it dries, but you can kind of see what I'm doing here. So I'm going around that edge to shadow it, but I'm also pulling out, kind of giving it like sun ray, a pattern, a painted pattern of brush strokes of sun rays around it. So then I take all the other colors I already used, and I do that as well. And I loved, this was so much fun. So it wasn't something it just came to me while I was doing this. So I get that done, and then I let all of that dry because I want to get this sealed for the next step that we're going to do to this. To seal this, I'm going to use my favorite Rust-Oleum matte clear coat. And because this is so gorgeous, I knew that I wanted to make this larger. So I grabbed out this frame out of my stash. I've had it for a long time. I think I paid like $2 or $3, whatever that little sticker says. Took the glass out. We're not going to need that. I took all those stickers off. I popped my backing in there, and I took off the stand, which I technically could have left that on there, but I didn't. We're going to cover all this. You'll see that coming up. So I broke that stand off, sort of cleaned it up a little bit because we want this backing to be, you know, smooth for what we're going to do last. Grabbed my triple thick, quick trip, I don't know. Grabbed the same glue, put it around there. I may have used a little bit of hot glue, and then I stuck that backing back on there. I flipped the cutting board over, did the same thing with that TITEBOND glue, hot glue, and placed it down onto the front of that frame. Yes, we're covering it up. It's not going to be used as a frame. It's going to be used as a backdrop, but the rustic look, the like sanded edges of this, which it came that way, already had that sort of orange color, and it just looked so great behind that. And what I did, I took the black chalk paint and painted all around the edge of the cutting board so it would blend in, especially if you're looking from the side. And then I took some of that black chalk paint and just kind of did a dry brush. Now don't worry, we are definitely not done, and this black is just going to serve as an undercoat for some definition. I grabbed out the gold wax, the gold Luna paste we used, and my gold rub and buff for the first project. And I found these gold foil flakes, but they actually have copper, like a turquoise. They got different colors in them. I've had these things for years, so I got those out too. I went ahead and just got a lot of the gold on top of this black and the orange to give this lion a more majestic look and really make his mane stick out. And then I grabbed some Mod Podge and used it to add some of those gilding flakes just here and there, even on the little squigglies. And I'll just tell you, those little ornate pieces on the corners came in that lion mold, and the lion mold is deep. Those things were hard to get out as clay. Now I'm sure that they are not that difficult if you use resin, but I wasn't too crazy because once I did get them out, they still kind of looked a little funny, and they're really deep. So I don't know. They're okay. But I actually thought about using something from another mold around the corners, but I went ahead and used these. Once we get that gold, this gold flakes on there, and because I put a lot of other things, I think I went ahead and sealed this one more time, or maybe not. I don't know. But this piece is done. Let me know what you think about our lion. Oh my goodness, I love this. And I also put a brown paper on the back of this and a sawtooth hanger so this can hang on a wall, and you can't even tell it's a picture frame anymore. Let me know what you think of this one. Project number 3, I grabbed this gorgeous copper candle holder. It was only like $1.55. And I grabbed this Mercy House stamp, which was one of the new IOD stamps. Again, you can use any kind of stamps or even a stencil. This is another one of those really pretty green colors from the new Fusion line, the Alchemy. And I thought, why not just stamp some of this on there? But of course, we're going to make this much larger because this is a really small, thin piece. So I grabbed the stamp, and it looks kind of like tapestry. And I knew this style would look great on the copper. Almost gives it a little bit of an Aztec, but it does give it a gorgeous cottage style as well. So I just stamped that on, and then there was another little stamp that I used to kind of go around the very top sort of pie shape up here, and I just did that all the way around until I got that covered. I took the trim stamp that also came with this set and went around the bottom of the candle holder. I really just wanted this all to tie together, especially once we add our upcoming cutting board to this. Yes, we're going to use a cutting board. Once I got all these stamped, I let them dry and then went to work on this cutting board. Now, I paid $2.55 for this, and it's a perfect size to put a candle holder on. Even though it's got that glass plate, I promise you it's going to blend in. So the first thing I wanted to do was go ahead and attach these two pieces together before I started painting the cutting board. So I used my TITEBOND glue and hot glue. I did clamp this. You're not going to see it on here, but I clamped it and let it dry overnight. Worked perfect. I just, wait till you see how this one turns out. I'm excited to see what you all think about this one too, because I really wanted to keep that copper color, and I knew that that sort of green patina color would go with it. But because we had glass on here and this was kind of a slick wood, very dark, I went ahead and used this Paint Couture primer. It's a gray color. Now, Aunt Bee's Attic sent me this. Don't forget, she is an affiliate of mine. I have her link in the description box below. Any of these products you can pretty much get from Aunt Bee's Attic. I also added the sort of sagey patina looking paint. After the primer dried, I gave it 2 good coats because we're not really going to distress this. We just want it to blend in beautifully with that copper color, and we're going to do something to add to this as well. Once I let that color, the green color, dry, again, put 2 coats on it, let it dry. Once I let that dry, then I grabbed my Autumn Gold Rub and Buff, which is pretty much a copper color, but even copper paint would work for this. And I just sort of went around the edges, and I even added a little bit of copper to the copper candle holder so that it would kind of blend in. Plus there was a few little weird looking spots on that copper that wouldn't come off. So I just thought, well, I'll just add some of that, and this piece is done. Now you can hang this with the hole in the top, or I'm thinking about putting a sawtooth hanger on the back just so if someone wants to hang it down lower, they can. I took the original leather strap off of here, and someone could definitely put one back on. Let me know what you think about this one. I did forget to mention that I sealed the copper stamped paint and the green paint on the cutting board, all with my favorite matte clear coat by RUSTOLEUM. Project number 4. I loved this one too. I know I'd say that about all these, but you're going to see why. So this is just a little tiny cutting board I also found at the Goodwill bins. I'm going to sand that little sign or little insignia off there, or brand. so that whenever I do this or make it over, you're not going to be able to see it. I'm going to give this one coat of this, I think it's Sunset Pink by Folk Art, because we're going to use this gorgeous paint inlay also from the new IOD release. You can use a transfer for something like this. Again, stencils, stamping, there's so many things. I'm going to go ahead and put my second coat on because we need that to do our paint inlay. Once I get my second coat on, it's going to still be plenty wet. I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit of a spray with the water. I'm going to spray the back and the front of my paint inlay, lay it on top, get it where I want it, smoothed over. And I cut this out, of course. I didn't use the whole page. And then I'm going to take just a little paper towel and sort of get the extra water off of there after I do the spray. I'm going to let this sit and dry, and you'll be able to see here it's white where it's dry. You're going to spray it one more time, let that sit for a few seconds, and then start carefully peeling up. If it doesn't look like it's sticking, just lay it back down, let it sit a little longer. Not sticking, but staying. And this turned out so beautiful. I had one little place that my Sunset Pink paint come off, but that's okay because you can still see some of the wood through this, and we're going to distress it in a little bit. Now, I did go ahead and put my favorite matte clear coat on this. You're not supposed to use a brush because it smears. I don't really have a problem with these paint inlays smearing, at least not so far. And after I let this dry, I'm going to show you, we're going to do even more layering on this. You can layer with paint inlays and transfers or even stamping. I grabbed this cake word and the little cake that goes with it. I cut them apart from one of the new IOD transfer sets. I went ahead and took my little scraper and put both of them on there. Now I could have stopped here, but again, I want to do quite a bit of layering on this. So I just looked through another one of the transfers that had some gorgeous flowers and picked out some that I thought would bring out the purple in this paint inlay. I don't really buy a lot of paint inlays anymore because, I don't know, I like them, but I just don't fool with them much. But I really like this one because it had the purple in it, so I had to have it. So I just grabbed that, and I found another little darker purple bouquet to put under my cake. And there was one little piece of the purple flower at the top left, so I just put it sort of under the bottom of the word cake. Again, I had to seal it because you have to seal the transfer. Even though we've already sealed the paint inlay, we still need to seal the transfer. Now you could use clear wax. I went ahead though and took my little finger sander and distressed all around the edges of this, giving it sort of a little rustic look. In the end, I did clear coat it one more time, and I didn't show this on camera, but I took some green metallic and some gold metallic wax with my finger and just kind of went around the edge of this. And now we have this layered several times, and I love how this looks. Let me know, have you done all this layering with paint inlays before? If you have, let me know in the comments below. Project number 5. You all know how much I love green. Well, I have been crushing on some blue lately. So I had bought a few of these cutting boards a while back, and I don't use a lot of new stuff to make over, but these have really came in handy on these projects today. So this is my last one. I'm going to have to pick up some more of these because like I said, I got pretty obsessed when I made that first lion one. Now I'm using the unicorns mold, also another part of the new IOD release. Like I said, use whatever you have. Now, I made mine into a horse. I didn't use the actual unicorn or the corn. I didn't use the little, I don't know what that's called. Anyways, I just didn't make it. I left the clay out of it. I'm using this color called Storm from this new line of the Alchemy paints. Isn't that beautiful? Honestly, I think it looks more purple on screen than it does in real life. In real life, it has more of a gray tone. I went ahead and gave that a couple coats, and now I'm going to use this piece of art that I got from Hobby Lobby. When they mark these down to like $1 and something, I pick them up to use as bases for other projects. Well, I wanted my corners a little rounder, so I just took my little finger sander and I rounded all of the corners because my cutting board was round. So now I think it just flows a lot nicer. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing and glue this with TITEBOND and hot glue before we get started painting this, because there's no reason to put paint on there and try to glue on top of it and of course waste paint. Once we get that done, I thought we would do a little bit of a monochromatic look. I am brushing this glue a little bit just so it spreads better, and then adding my hot glue right in the center. So I grabbed this Sea Haze, which is a really pale blue from Folk Art, to give this sort of a monochromatic look. I go ahead and paint the Sea Haze all around this, and I think I even paint some on the edges of the cutting board just to kind of seam them together. Oh, and I did show you that I thought about flipping this over and using the inside of this, but I really liked this cutting board more on the outside of it. But you could do it either way. Once I got this Sea Haze, and I did use 2 coats of this because I wanted to cover up, you know, this artwork that was on here. I use what Sea Haze is left on my brush to dry brush over the roses and the horse, and I even go over the board some too, because we want, you know, we want this piece to look like it was all together from the beginning. And then when I finish with that, I grab what was left on my storm brush and do the same thing on the blue. So they both tie in with each other and kind of give it that whole monochromatic look. Now, because the original artwork on this piece had a lot of texture in the paper, I was able to dry brush over it, and all that texture popped up with that stormy color. Once I get both of those the way that I like, I grab out some of my waxes, and I end up using this Prima wax in ash gray to shadow all around the roses and the horse. And I use some of my Prima wax in Old Denim, which is a metallic blue, to go on top of that as well. And the horse, give it some blue in its mane, that metallic blue. And then the last touch I do is silver. It's called Old Silver metallic wax. Now you could use metallic paints to do the same thing, even with your finger just rubbing them on. Don't forget, you don't have to use exactly what I'm using. Just find something in your stash or your supplies that are similar and use those. And this was just, it was so cathartic doing this, because I just love shadowing and shading and adding color on top of color. And the blue just really hit home. I went ahead and added a sawtooth hanger on the back of this so someone could hang this on their wall. And this is our last project. If you stayed until the end, leave me the word blue, the color blue, or any emoji that is blue. I just want to say thank you for watching my videos and for your patience. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, comment below, and I will see you all in the next video.